Hey folks, it's Madeline again of Sister Luna Psychic Services. Today we are going over the Tower card. So, in 10 years of reading cards, I have never pulled the Tower and had it mean something nominal or trivial, or something that's not that big of a deal. It has always come up and meant a divorce, a loss of a long-standing career, destruction of reputation, something like that. Those are all just different versions of one core thing happening that this card foretells. And that is the ivory tower that you've built around yourself has come crashing down. And by the ivory tower, I mean your idea about who you are, your story of you. So if you're defining yourself based on your achievements, then you might get the Tower card and it comes out, oh, you were using performance enhancing drugs during that time and now everybody knows, and so much for that. Or, if you define yourself by your relationship, then that relationship was being foretold to be ending. And when that happens, you just feel like completely unmoored, like you have no direction, you have no sense of self. And that's a difficult phase. It's a difficult thing to deal with for sure. It's extremely painful and challenging and confusing. And though the Tower and Death are both cards of change, Death is different. I already did that video. Hopefully you watched it. But the Tower is change that comes on so fast that once it starts happening, there's no resisting it. It just already happened. And then you deal with the fallout of that. It's almost like, it's interesting because the image on the card is just depicting the moment when that happens. But that's such a small bit of time usually, right? It's just one phone call, or it's like, one meeting, and then it's over. And then what you're dealing with isn't this anymore. It isn't like the Tower exploding. Although it is your life being turned upside down. So the people who have either fallen or jumped from the Tower, they're upside down. So that's kind of how it feels. But like I was going to say, that there is a really positive aspect, believe it or not, to the Tower. And it's that once that false image of who you are comes down, yes, it's difficult at first, but you have been given the opportunity to realize that that was never who you were, that you were so much more than that you were one with everything, and no event in your life can take that away. Nothing can take away your being, right? Everything is destroyed, but you are still there. You still exist. So there's an opportunity when dealing with a Tower situation to realize your ultimate power, and that's just in your existence, and not needing to have this false identity built up around you. And there's nothing wrong with being in a relationship, having a career that you love. Nothing wrong with the things that people use to build the Tower. It's the challenge comes, or the diminishment of yourself comes, when you see those things as who you are, rather than just something that you're doing or that you're experiencing. That might be really confusing for a lot of people, but I hope it makes sense to most of you. I might be kind of rambling, but yes. The Tower. It's an opportunity for rebirth in a different way than it is with Death. And it's actually a more intense and greater card of change than the Death card is. And one thing I will say as advice to readers who are watching this, when you pull the Tower card Like, I tend to kind of make a face. Like, I have a hard time not letting it show that I know that this is a big deal. But you can't mince your words. You need to deliver that information to your querent. That's why they came to see you, right? So sometimes when the tower situation hasn't already started rolling, you can avoid it. You know, if say you're predicting a divorce with the tower card, if you tell your querent that, they might be able to go to their spouse and like work things through, you know, start going to therapy or something versus just letting this happen. So yes, I almost want to do an entire other video just on being direct when reading for people, because that's something it took me a long time to really be comfortable doing, just because oftentimes you have to deliver that bad news and people do not want to hear it usually. But I feel that it's my responsibility as their reader to do that for them. So we've been in kind of a stretch of like sad or difficult cards in the major arcana lately, and it's been a bit rough. I've kind of tried to break it up with the YouTube Pagan Challenge videos. The next video I do is going to be the letter B for Banshee, but it's not what you think. So please come back and check that video out. Thank you again for watching. If you go to my channel, you can subscribe and then you'll see all the cards that I do. Until then, merry meet, merry part, merry meet again, blessed be.